Good morning, at least in the
Good
United States
afternoon.
of America.
Good afternoon.
Good morning from beautiful Spain on the Camino del Norte. We have our friend Tony Kriz. Tony, hello.
Hello, friend. Hello,
It's great.
community. How is everybody?
It's great to see you. It's just wonderful. We miss you, and we've been following you on social, and now we have an opportunity to actually see and hear from you.
Great.
Tell us. Maybe we'll start here. Tell us how many days in you are, and where you are, and how things are going.
Yeah. So again, I'm on the Camino del Norte, which is following loosely the northern coast of Spain. I started in Irun, right on the French border, and I am right now 16 days in, and I'm almost 450 kilometers into my walk, which means yesterday I crossed the halfway point. I am more than halfway to Santiago and walking into the cathedral, which I'm looking forward to every day. So things are moving, things are happening. It has been a great journey so far.
And in keeping with that, I seem to recall when you walked the Frances years ago, when you
Yeah,
got to Santiago, the cathedral was closed, wasn't it?
the front edifice was under reconstruction, and so we had to use only the side entrance, which I
Right.
missed that whole walking in and the
Yes.
sculpture there at the front where you walk in, and we had to come in the side of the cathedral. So I'm looking forward to that. And plus, and you know this, Mark, that that it's also a holy year, so the pilgrim's door will also be open, so I can go through the front entrance and the pilgrim's entrance, which I'm excited about.
That's so exciting. So today is what? Did you say day 16 for you? Is that correct?
Day 16 of walking, I just completed about 2 hours ago.
So for people that may not be familiar with the Del Norte as opposed to the Frances or the Portuguese or some of the other caminos that run through Spain, tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about where you started and what the route looks like and how it differs from the Frances, which is the most popular route through the
Yeah.
kind of north central Spain.
Yeah, there's so much that's different. So yeah, again, I start in Irun at the French border, and you never journey too far, at least during the first 3 quarters of the Norte. You never journey too far from the coastline. So most days I see the ocean, and some days I see a ton of the ocean. I mean, an unbelievable vistas, just overlooking cliffs and crashing waves and rocks and haystack rocks and the whole thing. It has been visually, it has been a circus of sensations. It's been wonderful. It is far more rugged than the Francais. It's much more vertical. There are days when I've had probably 8 days that were as hard or harder than the hardest day I had on the Francais, to the best of my memory. That was 4.5 years ago with the Francais. But it feels much more rugged. And the next couple of days, I'm hitting another really rugged section, which I'm a little nervous about. But pushing through, love it. The Norte, for people who are thinking about the Camino and which route to take. A couple things to know about the Norte is it is, first of all, it is populated, at least in my experience here in October walking it. It is populated by adventurers, not pilgrims. The Francaise was much more about people who were in it because there was some other meaning attached to it. It didn't necessarily have to be a religious meaning, but there was very, and the meaning was more important than, you know, overcoming the obstacles. There was a whole lot of people that were walking 10 miles a day and were pretty happy, or 12 miles a day and they were really happier. 15 was a big day. 15 on the Norte is a easy day. There, I am surrounded by people walking 20 to 25 miles a day, and they are all just warriors, men and women from all over the world. And they, on the Francaise, everybody jokes about it. You pass these lovely little old ladies that are walking about 2 miles an hour, on the road, and they just putter through their 15 miles a day. There's none of those people on the Norte. They are all just adventurers who want to power through. I can't lose anybody. I mean, I think I'm kind of pretty good shape or whatever. I try and I'm going over 20 miles a lot of my days. I can't outrun anybody. Like I'm seeing the same people over and over again, and so that's been really interesting. Far fewer people. Like there's a school of about 20 people is all that I've really engaged the whole way. 20 to 25 total in 16 days, because we keep seeing the same people over and over again. So, but also that's a product of the fact that it's October. I'm sure it's the end of the season, and then the Francaise just has a lot more history. So. If you really love, for instance, the Francaise is much more sacred than the Norte. Like many of my afternoons on the Francaise, there was a pilgrim mass I could go to at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There hasn't been one pilgrim's mass that I've been aware of in my first 16 days. There have been a few pilgrim blessings. I've stayed 3 nights in convents. And a couple of those had a pilgrim blessing attached to that experience, but it was much more, it wasn't like a full mass, like a side room, and like one nun would come in and just say a few nice words. And I would go in, and most of the pilgrims were there because it was quaint. Like they weren't there because they're like, oh, I just want to be blessed, in some sort of like super spiritual. They just thought it was a quaint cultural experience. They're like, oh, all right, sounds like fun. We'll go and have this weird little cultural experience with these old ladies or whatever. And so that's a very different feeling. There's not sort of that community of spiritual. Did you want to follow up with any of that? I kind of said a lot.
Yeah, no, that's fine. On the Francaise, it's more likely that you would be walking with someone than walking alone. There's just a lot of people, and from what I've been reading from your posts on social, it sounds as though it's just the reverse on the Norte. You're walking most days by yourself.
Yeah, the first 5 days I saw 4 pilgrims total. My first 5 days. Now, part of that is because I tend to get out in front and walk ahead of. So I wasn't the only one on there, but the gap between people is much larger, and here, now I'm probably seeing 8 pilgrims while walking a day, maybe the whole day, and so yeah, that is a difference.
That's got to be a much different experience, because you more solitude, more time to think. That is got to be much different than the Francaise. Francaise is very social. I know when I walked, I was, you build relationships and you're walking maybe with the same person for a better part of a week. And so there's a lot, the days go quickly. There's a lot of chatter back and forth. And you get to know each other real well. So it's got to be a much different experience, more solitude.
Oh my gosh, so much. All alone, and when you get to these beautiful vistas, you're standing all alone. There's nobody. Like it's all yours. It's like you and the divine and the cliffs and the water, and that's it in the universe. It's like you're so. And then the other thing is, I've only come across maybe 5 or 6 Americans total in my 16 days. And so I've had very few fluent English speakers to even have deep conversations with. In fact, most of my closest relationships have been with very limited shared language. I mean, my broken Spanish, their broken English, But that doesn't limit the affection, though. That's the amazing thing. I mean, the level of effusive affection has been it's been dazzling. I can't even tell you how loved I feel. Particularly, I've just met. There's been this string of Spanish men that I have connected with who have been so kind and so helpful and have loved me really, really profoundly. It's hard to explain, but it's been amazing.
Oh, it's so great. That is just so great. Are you it looked as though you started out with some really foul weather. Has that
Yeah.
resolved itself, or has it still been rough?
Yeah, I've had like, the rain and wind sideways, where the poncho is like stuck to your body because the wind is so strong against you as you're walking, or the rain's so strong it's coming under the poncho and, pouncing off your face like BBs. I've had days like that. The last week has been better, but according to the forecast, I'm entering both another season of rain and getting back to some really serious vertical, which I'm nervous about, to be perfectly
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. That's a tough combination, isn't it?
Whew, it's a lot, and it's scary too because it affects your footing when you're going up these very paths that are so steep that your heels don't touch the ground, because you're
Yeah,
climbing,
yeah, yeah.
and when with a 30-pound pack on and the whole thing, it's a lot.
Let me ask you this: Would you? It feels to me as though the Norte is a real solid solution for a subsequent Camino after maybe walking Francês or Portuguese or another one. Uh, would you recommend this route for a first time, regardless of the condition they were in? Would you suggest it for a first time pilgrim?
Well, Mark, you and I, we come in contact with a lot of people who dream about the Camino, and it always begins with what their goals are and what they want to accomplish. And but generally speaking, if people are attracted to the romance and the history of the Camino, then the Frances it is it is the epitome. I mean, it's the thing you want to take. It's the most built out. It's the clearest. The story is so clear. Like, so on the Norte, there are no statues. All those statues you pass are those different art
Right.
installations people have built. You don't get any of that kind of stuff in the Norte. You don't. The pillars you pass constantly that have the how far it is to Santiago on them with the shell and those pillars, and you put the rock on to symbolize your prayer or your mourning or whatever you're doing. There's none of those on the Norte. They're not. I mean, you're lucky to get spray painted yellow arrows, on a rock. That's the thing that's directing you. So all of that sort of infrastructure and storytelling that happens that's been done for you by all the creators. The Norte is just not built up yet for all of that,
Yeah.
and the Frances has it, and then the Frances you can pick, like, if you want to go 12 kilometers or 12 miles a day, you can go 12 miles, and there's a way to do it. There are enough places to stay that you can figure it out. Here, there are days where you have to go 23 miles because there's really not a good place to stop. So you got to push yourself that extra 8 miles or whatever that you necessarily didn't plan on. So it's it requires a commitment to sort of submit to the option that and quite frankly, like right now, I'm actually staying in a little hotel out in the countryside because there wasn't an albergue that I
Hmm.
could get into. And so myself and one of my compadres, Jose, Jose's having some foot problems. So we went ahead and we just got a very simple hotel room to share between the two of us tonight because there was an albergue, and that cost $30 compared to the
Hmm.
at $15 that an albergue costs for just a bed. But that means tonight I have a private bath and I take a real shower. I can sleep without 6 people snoring in the room. So that'll it'll be a nice one night.
I know that when I was about 40, 50 kilometers from Santiago on the Frances, 2 men and 1 woman had just come down off the Norte and joined
Right.
the Frances, and it was like talking to someone coming out of a different dimension. I mean, it was almost kind of hard to communicate. They spoke English. I think they were Westerners, if I remember correctly, but they were. It was different. I could tell it was different, and their experience was different, and they felt very different than the people that I've been walking with over the course of the Frances. The guys did not want to talk. They didn't want to talk at all. The woman was really desperate to chat with somebody. It sounded as though she maybe had gone a long time without speaking to anybody in English, and I remember it being very, very different. So it sounds like the experience is different. And as you get back and we explore more of the depth of what you've found over there, it'll be really interesting. More. How I was going to ask about your. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and soon the Primitivo is going to break off from the Norte, so we'll lose, half of or however many of the percentage of pilgrims that are currently walking the Norte will go on the Primitivo. So then that last third will be even less pilgrims, and so and I'm planning on staying on the Norte all the way to Santiago.
Yeah. That's exciting. Yeah, I know on the your previous trip you had some issues with your feet.
I did.
Shoes were not great. I think there were some issues I know physically that were tough. How are you doing this time around?
Right on cue, about day 4 or 5, I had a nice big blister blow up on my left heel. But my Spanish angels from Barcelona just went to town to help me out and help bandage me up, and that's been my only problem so far. Just outside of the normal aches and pains of being an almost 52-year-old.
Yeah.
So
that's a big improvement. That's a big improvement from last time, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And I've learned some things. I change my socks every day, once around the 8-mile mark usually, and doing some things to just help lubricate my feet so that there's less friction. And I think my first Camino, I learned to listen to my body a little bit better, and I'm applying that. And so hopefully, no major problems come about here in the second half.
How about a shameless plug for Hoka? Because I think you switched the boots this trip and you're wearing a different type of shoe, right?
Yeah, Topos.
Topos, yeah. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
T-O-P-O, yes. I'm wearing Topos. Love it. Love my Topos. Topo, if you want to become an endorser of the podcast, we'd love that. My Osprey backpack is excellent, and I want to say that about my Sherpa jacket and shirt are wonderful. And
I like that shirt you're wearing. Show us that shirt. It's got it has a shell on the front. Where did you get that?
Yeah, this is the official Camino Association of Alicante, which is south of Barcelona, and one of my Spanish brethren that I met on the Camino and we fell in love with each other. He gave me his shirt. This is the official Camino community of his town or his region of Alicante. And he gave
great.
And I said, "No, I can't take your shirt." He was like, "No, you have to. You're my brother."
That's so awesome. So awesome. Tony, has the food been different than what you experienced before? What's the food been like?
Yeah. So the Frances, most nights I had a nice what they call a pilgrim meal that took place inside the albergues, which is a standard 3-course meal that you pay a flat fee for, and you eat with all the other pilgrims in a family style sort of setting, and it's a wonderful way to spend the evening. the Norte, again, at least now in October, is not that well organized. So I've only had a few what traditional pilgrim dinners. And so my day is I wake up in the morning and usually either first thing or, an hour into my walking, I'll stop and get a café con leche and, a pastry or something just to start my day. Uh, Early afternoon, it's just jump into a bar and I'll grab a beer and just a sandwich. And then in the evenings, if there's no pilgrim meal, just get what you can find. And tonight I'm at this hotel. They do have a dining room where Jose and I will go. We'll have dinner together at the dining room. But
Yeah, it sounds great. I have to apologize. There's somebody with some power lawn equipment that people may be hearing in the background. And just for the record, that's here and not there. There's nobody edging the lawn in front of where you're staying with power equipment. They could, but it's here. So for as we wrap up here, you've got about another 2 weeks. Is that 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What do you got left?
Well, it took me 15 days to get to the halfway point, and so I imagine I've got another probably about 2 weeks until I arrive in Santiago. Yeah, and then I'll have after that another week or so to just putter around Europe a little bit and maybe go visit a friend.
And you'll be back early November. So
yes, sir.
I know there's many people, friends, family, those of us that are thinking good thoughts for you, perhaps praying for you. Are there specific things that you would like to ask us to include in those moments?
Well, I am doing almost every day. I've been doing an Instagram post with a couple hundred words, sort of thought from the day or what I'm processing. I'm really trying to make those almost a life parable of sorts that I think almost anybody could draw something out of, sort of out of my experience. And I would encourage people to if you're not connected with me on Instagram or Facebook, to do that. And those will give you sort of a window into what I'm thinking about almost every day. But generally speaking, I don't have some like, I want the answer to this question. I sort of am counting on the Camino to show me what needs to be unearthed, as I walk along, feeling the sense that the divine is walking with me and all those sorts of things. But mostly it's about wanting to be more whole, it's just, and whatever that means, I'm just allowing those things to leak into my life. And so I'm processing a lot about, being a husband, being a father, being a neighbor, being a person in the world, and the kind of person now that I'm in my 50s, kind of person I want to be and grow into. And I want to believe that life's not over. There's still some great chapters written, and most of that is about the who I am as opposed to what.
That's great. That's great. Well, we wish you ongoing success and safety. I did watch a YouTube. I'm sorry, not a YouTube, but I watched a video that you posted, I think on Instagram, where you were walking along a very, very narrow wall with a sheer drop to your right. And I was like, it looked positively dangerous. So safety, Godspeed, enjoy your trip. You look great. You look happy. You look healthy. We're so happy for you, and so glad to have an opportunity to share a few moments with you. And we will touch bases with you shortly as you get closer to Compostela.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for reaching out and asking a few questions. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good talking to you, Tony. Be safe out there. Take care.
Blessings.